Peter Nice had once been a name that rolled off tongues with admiration. Mr. Nice. The man who started from nothing, selling mattresses out of a van, and built an empire. He was the smiling face of success, the golden child of capitalism. People cheered for him. Loved him. And he needed them too. Without the cameras, the interviews, the admiration, there was nothing. Silence crept into his life like a sickness, filling the spaces between meetings, between lovers, between the nights that stretched too long. The loneliness was unbearable, a physical pain. It clawed at him when he was alone, 1,000 knives twisting in his back. He couldn't be alone. Not even to shower. So he surrounded himself with people, beautiful women, eager assistants, journalists who hung on his every word. He burned through marriages like cigarette paper, never faithful, never satisfied. The moment a woman became his, he lost interest. He pushed them away, then raged when they left. Possessed them, then despised them for letting him do it. 2 wives. 4 children. Gone. His affairs were once whispered about in gossip columns, but soon, they weren't whispers anymore. His violence became public. The cameras that once loved him caught the bruises on women's wrists, the fear in their eyes. People began to see. Mr. Nice was no longer nice. Then came the car accident. For months, Peter was forced into stillness. His body broken, his empire left in the hands of others. He told himself he would change. That he had changed. That this time, he would be better. It lasted less than a year. Women no longer satisfied him. Not the ones he dated, not the ones who wanted to be seen with him. So he turned to the ones who stayed for money. The ones who didn't look at him with expectations. And still, it wasn't enough. The loneliness never left. It gnawed at him, a parasite in his gut, whispering that he was nothing when no one was watching. That was how he found her. Peter wasn't even looking for her at first. He had been prowling the city, half drunk, restless. The loneliness was unbearable that night, the kind that made his skin itch, made his throat feel tight, like he was suffocating in his own empty existence. He had already gone through 2 girls that week, escorts who smiled because he paid them to, who left when the time was up because they had no reason to stay. But he wanted more. He wanted something real. And then, her name popped into his mind. Just like that. Like fate. She had once meant something to him. He didn't even know if she was still in the city, but he started asking around. Money made people talk. In the places Peter lurked these days, money could make anything happen. And it led him to her. The first thing he noticed when he found her was how different she was. Time had not been kind to her. She was thin, too thin, her cheekbones sharp, her eyes sunken into her face. The glow she once had was gone, replaced by something hollow. She didn't recognize him at first, and when she did, there was no warmth in her expression. Just tiredness. Resignation. But Peter felt something. It rushed through him like an old drug, a forgotten high. Seeing her again, this woman who had once made his heart race, ignited something inside him. Desire? Nostalgia? Possession? He wasn't sure. But he convinced himself of one thing: she owed him this. She owed him this because he still remembered her. Because in his mind, she wasn't some nameless woman from his past. She had mattered to him, even if just for a little while. Didn't that count for something? Didn't that mean something? So he followed her. Talked to her. Told her how good she used to make him feel. How she still could. The moment felt good, until it didn't. Until he looked into her eyes and realized she wasn't there. There was no warmth, no passion, no connection. Just emptiness. Like he wasn't even a person to her. And then the pimp interfered. Peter hadn't even noticed him at first. The man didn't look like a pimp. No flashy rings, no gold chains, no street swagger. Just an older guy, maybe late 50s, with graying hair and tired eyes. He had the look of someone who had seen too much. When he entered the room, Peter barely glanced at him. Until the man spoke. "That's enough." Peter froze. The man's voice was quiet, even. Not angry. Not threatening. Just firm. Like he wasn't afraid. Like he was talking to some misbehaving child. And that's what made Peter snap. "Who the hell do you think you are?" he snarled. The man didn't flinch. Didn't move. Like Peter was just another drunk nobody. Like he wasn't Peter Nice. Rage rushed through him so fast it blurred his vision. Before he even realized what he was doing, he had pulled the knife from his pocket. A stupid little thing he carried more for show than anything else. He had never needed to use it before. Until now. It happened in a blink. A quick movement. A sharp gasp. The man staggered back, clutching his stomach. His fingers came away wet and dark. His tired eyes flickered with something: surprise? Pain? Then he fell. Peter stood over him, breathing hard, his pulse thundering in his ears. The woman screamed. Something inside Peter shattered. He turned and bolted, not thinking, not looking back. He ran into the night, away from the apartment, away from the body on the floor. His mind screamed at him, but he forced it down, forced it away. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He had to keep moving. Because if he stopped, if he let the silence catch up to him, then he'd have to face what he had done. And Peter Nice didn't do regret. Not until later. Not until the cameras were gone. Not until the women stopped calling. Not until the silence crept back in. Not until he was alone again.